So we had Joe Rogan on. You know, Joe hasn't appeared on our show. Joe the comedian, Joe who used to host
Fear Factor.
Fear Factor. So I told you Joe had some problem with me, so he discussed it with Greg Fitzsimmons.
He won't discuss it with us.
No, and, you know, I remember the exact incident and everything, and I knew this is what it was.
Is this Vegas?
Yeah, this is Joe's, you know, it's so silly.
What, could you tell me what it is? Like,
I'll let Joe explain it.
What happened?
This is what Joe said.
I loved you on Stern all the time. You were on there for a while, and then you just stopped going on there for a while. What happened?
Well, I kind of explained it last time I was here, but I just tried to avoid drama. You know, he said something about me on the air that I didn't like.
He said you were gay.
No, he said I hate women. And I was like, come on, man, really? And he said something about us being in a strip club where we were all in a strip club. And he said that, you know,
who, you and Howard?
Yeah, it was him. He had did a thing in Vegas and, like, hired off a whole section of this strip club.
I've been a part of that. Then they give you fake money.
Huh?
Then they give you the Monopoly money that you can get to the girls?
So. I don't remember, but I remember I was really high. And when I'm really high, I can't get lap dances. It just weirds me out.
Of course.
You know, it's just too freaky.
Yeah.
You know, you can feel that this person doesn't really want to do this. This is their job. And you start thinking about their past. And so anyway, he said that I said to them, get away whores, which I would never say. And that's just not true.
Bores.
Well, that sounds like that's not a big enough an issue to not go back on the show, is it?
To me, I was like, well, first of all, I'm going to have to defend that. So then, you know, whenever you're defending something like that, it always automatically looks like you're being defensive because it's bullshit.
Yes.
And I know it's not bullshit, so I'm like, I don't even want to be involved. And I said, I'll just be a fan again. Just
one thing I can say, having known Joe Rogan for almost 20 years, actually likes women a lot. Okay, thanks for the call. I'm glad we moved past that.
I wasn't saying that Joe didn't that Joe was a homosexual. That's the way Greg. No. But I'll tell you the whole story. And Joe's right. You know, it's better he doesn't come on because he's building this thing up. And, you know, first of all, I'm somebody who has guests on. And I try to make them comfortable when they're on the show. And I try to be a good interviewer. And I also try to, you know, create something. We were in Vegas. Joe showed up at a strip club. It wasn't my event. I was at the strip club. They had invited us over. Am I correct? And we were there. I think one of the guys was making an appearance there. Either Gary.
I was there with Joe. Absolutely, a couple of times. I don't remember this exact incident, but I know I was there with Rogan.
Yeah, so we were there, and maybe Joe was high or something. He was saying some shit about some of the strippers, and I said to him on the air, I said, "It seems like you're angry with women. You know, you were just like kind of pissed off." Like, it was hateful, you know, like you were really kind of angry. You could make the same statements about me, what I do for a living.
So he's saying he was telling the girls to get away because he can't do lap dances when he's high.
Right.
And you just thought, wow, he's being kind of...
Well, no, he was saying stuff to me about the women.
He was saying stuff particularly to you about the women.
Yeah, he seemed angry. And I said to him, you know, sometimes you seem angry with women about what was going on that night. So he said, you know, I don't think he wanted that out there. Or as he says, he didn't say it. Maybe I misheard it. But I don't think so. But
I always thought it was something that I talked about on the radio. Maybe it is something different. I remember we went out one night. In fact, it was the night that Cindy Crawford's husband had the tour bus. Remember,
that's what I was definitely with you there.
So,
no, right. That's what I'm talking about.
You guys might have had an incident, too. And I remember we walked into the strip club, and Joe goes, these girls are all fucking, you know, God, they're all fucking damaged. I fucking hate these chicks. I'm not even going to get a lap dance.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
And then it came time to leave, and I went to go look for Joe, and he was back from it, like 3 chicks draped over him, and he goes, yeah, I'll meet you at the next place. Yeah. And I thought that was funny.
You're right, Rogan stayed. When we went on that was the night that I had 3 chicks draped on me, and Gary made me go on that bus.
I didn't mean it as a whole intellectual, like I thought Joe would just say, hey, Howard, come on, man, I was high or something. Like we'd have some interesting conversation about it. But Joe took it really personally, and I understand that he did. I mean, no, you know, now in retrospect, maybe I'm looking at it going, well, maybe...
I don't know, Howard. I think he's overreacting.
I do, too.
If you listen to his comedy
it was said once. I mean, you know, he's still living with it, you know, and every time he comes on now, it comes up.
We did a lot of good things for him. We had him on the show, you know, and we helped him out in a lot of ways. And I think, like, you know, at one point I had a discussion with his manager, and he's like, well, if Howard was a friend, he would have never said it. And I said, well, if Joe was a friend, he would have asked about it, discussed it, instead of just never talking about it.
I just thought it'd be an interesting thing to talk about on the air. I didn't think Joe was uptight about stuff like that.
But this is a perfect example of how a fight becomes something else because people are holding on to it.
Right, you can't let shit like that fester.
But we're not fighting with him. But the thing
No, I'm saying he's not doing the show because he's holding on to it.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, quite frankly, it's fine. I don't want Joe to do anything he doesn't want to do. I mean, I respect him as a comic, and I think he's a nice guy, but... I don't know.
The thing that weirded me out was Artie, you'd seen him, what, about 2 or 3 years ago? And Artie came back and he goes, spoke to Joe. He didn't have any problem with the show, but he clearly does.
Yeah, well, according to our show log, Gary was the one who said Joe called the girls whores. But I had also heard Joe saying some stuff, and I said to Joe, sometimes it seems like you were angry that night with women, and I wanted him to talk about it on the air, but I guess it was a road he didn't want to go down. Yeah, but it's no sense in going over it a million times. I mean, I'm just sad because I like Joe. I thought Joe was a good guy.
He was a great guest, and we miss him.
And I like the guy, so it's weird.
He's a good comic. I mean, and he's really intense, Joe. So, you know, but you gotta, I mean, I did see him, and he couldn't have been friendlier. And, you know, why not say, look, I'd love to talk to Howard about this and get rid of it, you know.
But I think it's funny that
it's such a simple thing to me, but maybe to him it's big, probably.
But the other thing is, why would he go on every show but this one?
No, but Joe's saying, listen, I'm still a fan. It's just something I didn't want to deal with on the air, because I understand what he's saying, because if you start dealing with it on the air, then it becomes even bigger. So I'd rather just die, and I'm not going to talk about it. But I don't know. It seems unfortunate. But
well, it's become a bigger thing because at the time he didn't deal with it, apparently.
One of his many attributes as a comic is he's brutally honest. And I mean, look, he said incredibly great things about you, and he means it. You know, You're the Johnny Carson of our generation, which I believe, you know. And now, but now it's just like, to me, let it go, you know. Come back in and let's have fun again.
Yeah.
You know?
I like it better this way.
Whatever.
You know what I mean? I just think it's fun. All right, so that's Joe, and Joe was on Greg's show, and Greg will be on tonight, broadcasting live from Los Angeles. I didn't realize just how fucked up Artie is.
Oh.
I mean, I really didn't, Robin.
Oh, come on, Howard.
No, I really did not.
I consider you an intelligent man.
Like, part of me thought it was like
a shtick?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because he's able to come here and be at work and pretty much. Well, come on, pretty much.
And he's a comedian, and, you know, comedians have a tendency to take things and blow them up.
Right.
You're acting like he comes in here well-dressed, shaven. He just barely makes it.
You know what, Robin? Whatever it was, I'm telling you, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, wow. Like, when you read this book, you go, Jesus Christ, Artie's really fucked up. Like, really fucked up. I love the guy. I love him. But, man, he really needs help. And, so I guess there were rumblings. I had been contacted by some guy who I didn't even know wanted me to come do a intervention with Artie and all this stuff. Yeah, you know. And I was like, look, A, I don't know you. B, here's the thing with Artie.
You were actually talking to this guy.
No, through Gary.
Okay.
Here's the thing with Artie. I don't have a problem with Artie. You know, the weird thing is...
You don't have any stories to tell Artie that you've messed up.
No. The weird thing about Artie for me is Artie does a great job here. And, my encounters with Artie are he shows up, he does his job, he's a delight to work with.
All you could say is sometimes I look over and you're not there.
Yeah. And that's okay, too, because Artie and I have had an understanding from the beginning that, there'd be times where, he said to me in the beginning, there would be times that I have things I need to get done, and I'm going to need time to do them. And I said, that's fine with me, because the balance works out somehow. Somehow we'll work it out. And it's been fine. I don't have a problem with Artie. I look at Artie and I see his weight's up. I know Artie struggles with drugs and alcohol. All that is horrible. But I don't have a problem with him. He does what he is hired to do. And but I know many people in his life have been having problems with him. And I'm sympathetic to that. But
so
I think those people
participate in the intervention, is what you're saying.
I'm thinking, well, first of all, that's like if Ham Hands Bill called me and said, hey, let's have an intervention for Artie. And said, I don't know.
Yeah, who is this person?
It's not like his sister called me or his mother called. It was like, some guy calls me who's some new guy in Artie's. I don't know. Maybe he wants to hang out with Howard Stern. Yeah. I don't know. It's always some guy. So.
You don't know who it is?
I know who it is, but I'm not going to get into it. Right. I'll tell you off the air.
All right.
Some things I tell you off the air.
But it was somebody who knows Artie.
Barely, I guess. So, yeah, it was like, well, why don't I get together with Marianne from Brooklyn? And,
without giving it away, just exactly how does he know Artie?
It doesn't matter. But whatever it was, I don't know this guy.
Gotcha.
So, he's inviting me to a party with Artie. I'm going to show up. Artie won't even be there.
Oh, you show up and the guy rolls you.
Yeah. So And by the way, I didn't even know what the hell we were doing an intervention for, because as far as I know...
You didn't know there was a reason.
I don't have a reason. At the intervention, I'd be praising him. I'd be sitting there going, hey, Artie, you're doing a good job as far as I'm concerned.
Whenever I hear intervention anymore, I think of that scene in The Sopranos where all the guys try to do an intervention with Christopher.
Right. And then they just punch him?
Yeah, they just beat him.
There's your intervention. So anyway, so I always hear rumblings that things are going on with Artie and this and that, but I don't know. I'm just, despite listening to us on the radio, the time that Artie and I get together, or Robin and I get together, we get together on the show.
But you don't look at him?
Yeah, he looks terrible. I mean, he's fat. I mean, but,
well, he's not just fat, Howard.
Oh, really? What else is wrong with him?
There's this overwhelming aura of sadness.
Oh, really? I don't pick that up.
That surrounds Artie as soon as the mics go off.
I'm too busy staring at Fred, honestly.
Should be looking over at the sad guy.
You don't see any sadness there? All right, well. In fact, everyone in his room's pretty sad. You know what I mean? Benji, I mean, take a look at him. Is there happiness?
True.
Right.
That's true. You look around this room, you would...
and I'm a bundle of joy.
Cry.
Yeah, so forgive me for not noticing sadness.
I don't know, but after reading Artie's book, it's like we're amateurs.
Well, yeah, reading Artie's book...
I finally am not the most fucked up person here.
Reading about his suicide attempt. I mean, it's just horrible. It's one horrible thing after another. And I said, gee, when I get back, I'm going to talk to Artie. After I read the book, I said, I'm going to talk to Artie and just say, I read your book. I even called him and left him messages. And I read your book, and it was brilliant and funny and also just so sad. And I even left a message. I didn't really understand the extent of your problems. And, if there's anything I can do, or, that's how bad I felt. So anyway... I get a call from Fafafui about a week ago, and Fafafui informs me that Artie has checked in to a very intensive rehab, and that, this is what was required. I guess Stacy, his sister, had sat down with him, and I think Colin Quinn had sat down with him.
Wow.
And
that was by the way, that was the entire intervention. It was Stacy and Colin.
Yeah, it was just Stacy and Colin, which is great. And that makes sense to me, because Stacy is his sister.
Well, Stacy is his sister,
and she knows him. And Colin is good.
Is that good a friend of his?
Colin's a real good friend of his.
I didn't realize they were that close.
Yeah. So, okay, that made sense to me. And they sat down, they had a talk with Artie, and I guess Artie decided to check into this quote-unquote intensive rehab.
I wonder what was going on that...
I don't know. That's a whole other thing. But evidently there was a lot of shenanigans. So the word I get from Gary is that this is great, intensive rehab, but Gary and I are both very happy.
Yes.
And I said, that's great. I said, Gary, I just read Artie's book. I said, you tell Stacy, tell, Artie, if I hear from them, I would tell them that Artie should take as much time. I'm really glad he's in a rehab. This is something great. If he needs more time, tell him to take it. We'll certainly carry on and wait for him to get better. I was very thrilled. And evidently, according to Gary, at this point, the word he got, this rehab, Artie was even getting wheatgrass enemas and
Where did he go? I gotta go there.
Daily therapy. Well, wait. Daily therapy. And according to what we hear, Artie's been sober, and he even,
well,
whatever.
If he did rehab, he's got to be sober, right?
Yeah, it's good. All right. I'm trying to recall everything for you. Okay, all right.
Be careful if rehab you're still using.
So then I get a message from Artie at the start of the weekend. Hey, Howard.
This weekend?
Yeah. So, Artie, just want you to know, I know you heard from the grapevine, I'm in rehab. I got to tell you, I never felt better in my life. Now I'm paraphrasing, he goes. I got in there. I'm sober now 12 days.
Just 12 days he's got.
Right.
I knew it.
Okay, all right. Okay, but this is good, right? He goes, I feel better than I've ever felt. I think I got the heroin thing beaten.
Oh, forget it.
Listen. I'm just telling you what he said. This is 12 days in rehab. He goes, I lost 20 pounds.
Nice.
And I'm even getting wheatgrass enemas. He's very into it. He goes, I got a lot of funny stories on the air, and it's going great, and I'm getting some color. I've been out in the sun. I feel good, and I'm telling you, I feel the best I've ever felt in my life. And I'll be back. I'm going to miss Monday and Tuesday, and I'll be back Wednesday.
No!
Yeah, wait.
Is that enough animus for him?
Wait. So I'm saying to myself, what kind of rehab has he created? He says, but he loves the therapist at the rehab, but the therapist is going to recommend somebody here, and he really is going to be in intensive therapy, and blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Sure.
So, I called him back. I got his cell phone, and I said, that is great news. If you need even more time at the rehab, you take it.
You should have said, I won't take you back. Stay there.
I said, this is terrific. And I read your book, and I really think this is a great thing. The book's great, and you're great, and I'm proud of you, and all that. So then I called Gary to report the good news to Gary, because Gary's very concerned.
Of course.
We talk about it all the time. So I go, Gary, I just got a message. He goes, it's all bullshit. I go, what? I said, I just got a message. He goes, it's all bullshit.
What does that
Gary
mean?
goes, it's all bullshit.
Huh? So I go, he hasn't even heard you yet.
Right. I go, Gary, you didn't hear me yet. What's bullshit? He goes, I know what you're talking about. Artie, rehab, it's all bullshit.
He's not in rehab?
Oh, I go, well, what's the bullshit? He goes, you know where he is right now? He's on a boat in Miami with Ross. I go, what?
That's how bad an addict he is.
Wait a second. Wait. So I go, Gary, what are you talking about? I go, no, Artie was just on the phone to me. He's in rehab. He goes, first of all, I found out it's not even a rehab. I go, what is it?
It's a spa.
It's a spa. Remember Colin went to fat camp?
Yes.
So he said...
In the Philippines.
So the best, I guess, they could get... Artie was no way going to a rehab.
Oh, my God.
So he went down to this fat camp and...
Hung out on the beach.
He was supposed to... No, well, evidently they do have some... But there's no real drug addicts. Like, there might be one or two drug addicts there.
They say it's more of a... I wouldn't call it a rehab. It's more of a detox.
Detox.
Yeah, but detox is
like what
different.
you do.
Yeah, that's not a detox for an addict.
Right. So...
Good Lord. He could have come with me.
So meanwhile, he's missing 2 days of work this week.
Because he's at a spa.
But he's not even at the spa. He checked into the Setai in Miami and was... But I mean, he's not there now. I think he's back at the spa. But he spent the weekend in Miami with Ross.
Jeez. You are kidding me.
That's the word I'm getting.
Here's how I knew.
What is wrong
Robin,
with all of you people?
Me? What are you doing with all of you people? What's wrong with him?
Here's how I knew there were issues.
Why isn't he at work then?
Because he's rehabbing.
Yeah, but if he's rehabbing, rehab.
He's
don't
doing
go to
his own version.
Don't go to Miami.
That's it. Part of it, but we included a trip to Miami.
I mean, what the fuck?
If I could design my rehab, that's the way it be.
And then I'm getting word that Artie's so bad that there were two guys going down there that were supposed to keep their eye on Artie. We hear they were partying in Miami with Artie. But I don't know if he's partying.
Wait a minute. He's hiring people now to watch him.
No, it was just some other guys who were going down there.
But there were people that were in with Artie that Stacey was trying to get to keep an eye on Artie, and instead they went with Artie.
Oh, my
He corrupted
God.
But Robin, okay, listen to this.
He corrupted their detox.
Yeah, he's really getting good now.
Listen to this timeline. I get a voicemail from Artie on, like, December 28th, and, the whole thing, listen, I'm in rehab, blah, blah. I won't be back till January 17th. I go, that's great.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the numbers.
Real.
And even those numbers, I'm going, okay, December 27th is 4 days and 17 is 21 days. Okay. That's a little on the short side.
They were 28, but 21.
Okay, then the next message, I get an email from Teddy saying that Artie will now be back on January 13th. And I went, all right, now that's a 16-day rehab. All right, okay.
It's not even a rehab.
He's doing so well, they're cutting his time.
Then I get an email from Teddy or somebody saying, or a voicemail, that Artie will be back on the 7th. Yeah. Oh, I get the email from Teddy. Artie's going to be back on the 7th. Now I go, what is that, 7, 8 days? 2 seconds later, I get a mass email from Caroline's that Artie's appearing at Caroline's on January 9th. You know what I mean? So I'm like, what the fuck?
So, I don't know. I just felt...
he's coming back to promote his show.
Right. I felt like, wow, I don't understand. First of all, I don't understand why Artie's out. If he was in Miami, he could have been at the rehab instead of going to Miami and then come back on time.
He's not at any rehab.
Well, I'm calling it the rehab because I don't know what to call it. The spa.
Yeah, the fat camp.
Right. But anyway, he says he's feeling better.
So he's really messed up. Yeah. Now do you understand?
Yeah.
I mean, the book and then this, right? That should tell you where I told
you, I said, here's the deal with me.
What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean...
You can't do anything.
I don't know. I got my own problems, which are numerous.
You know what's really funny? I was sitting there, I wrote you a note, and, I thought about the other people on the show, and I was going to reach out to Gary, and, got distracted, and somehow I never got to it, but, I was just sending little notes to people.
Oh, excuse me.
Just to say I love working with you, and it's good to have you in my life, and stuff like that, and Happy New Year. And I said, you know what? Artie's not on email, so I can't get to him that way.
Right.
Do I dare call? It's been a couple of weeks away from work.
Oh,
no, you can call. You can text.
Wait, you just reminded me. That's the other thing. So I get this long message from Artie that he's in rehab, and then 2 days later, my phone's going off like crazy with text messages. So I'm texting Artie back and forth, and I think to myself, when you go to rehab, don't they take away all your phones?
Yeah, you're not supposed to be in contact with anybody.
And he says he's got a BlackBerry, which is in essence a phone.
Right.
So I didn't know why he wasn't calling me. I don't know why he was texting me.
Right.
Because he's got a phone.
Because he said to me, this rehab is this insanely expensive rehab, but meanwhile, it's not even rehab.
It's not rehab
It's a
spa.
Artie and I spent 2 hours on New Year's Eve from like 2 o'clock to like 4 o'clock texting each other. He's and he's funny.
From
he's
2 to 4 in the afternoon?
In the afternoon, yeah. He's like,
what are you supposed to be in counseling?
I don't know. He said, like, what
group is coming up.
He said, sorry to bother you while you're skiing with your family. And I said, no big deal. I'm just sitting here watching the Twilight Zone marathon. And he wrote back, please watch the Elf marathon. I need the money.
No. Well, anyway, that's the Artie story. So Artie will be back on Wednesday, I guess.
From where? We don't know. Vacation again.
But really, he'll be back tomorrow night because he'll have to be back tomorrow night to be here for Wednesday.
Right.
So that's okay. So it's January 6th, and he went in on the 27th.
Went in.
So 27, 28, 29,
he went into a luxury spa.
What, 10 days or something?
10 days. Yeah. 11 days.
Well, there you go. That's the Artie saga.
Basically what happened was he, I guess, signed on. Oh, but how do you take a break in Miami from that even?
Oh, let me ask Artie. He's on the phone. Hold on. Artie.
He's laughing at us.
Artie, are you laughing at me because you're not here at work and I think you're in rehab?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So where are you really?
I must be an idiot, huh?
Right.
How many more times can you pull the wool over his eyes?
Thank you, Artie.
I'm not bullshitting anybody.
You're not? All right.
Poor Artie.
Well, to tell you the truth, I'd rather work by myself.
All right. Goodbye, Art.
At least he's in a good mood.
I'll see you on Wednesday. Good luck with rehab.
Right.
So what, is Wednesday the 7th?
Wednesday's the 7th, that is correct.
So then he'll be at Caroline's on the 9th, 2 days to promote.
Right. Oh, boy. So that was my Artie story. What can I tell you? What can I tell you?
What does it all mean?
What does it all mean? What does it all mean, Fred?
It's all bullshit.
What do you think of that story?
You know what? I mean, Artie does things half-assed. I mean, if he really was going to go into rehab, I think maybe he was going to start to go to rehab, and then over time he went, that's not such a good idea, and he kept whittling it down and whittling it down and whittling it down till he compromised it to the point of where it was just like, what the fuck is that?
Right. Well, he does give you a lot to talk about, I'll tell you that. Yeah. The boy keeps me busy.
But, in the meantime, he's going through hell. So he'll come back and tell you about having a bunch of enemas and how that cleaned him all out. Now he's kicked heroin.
In the meantime, he's just postponing the inevitable.
Yeah.
According to his message to me, he's never felt better, and he's clean and sober.
He's kicked heroin.
And he's pretty sure he's kicked it. He says he's had no withdrawal symptoms or anything.
It's funny to me because he'd already kicked heroin a number of times.
But while he was calling me and telling me he was in intensive rehab, as he calls it, I found out he was with Ross in Miami.
And what is Ross doing? Ross is an enabler.
No, listen, Ross was on a boat and Artie was there.
Did Ross know anything about Artie's rehab?
How would he know?
I don't think Ross knew anything about it. I think Artie's like, hey, I heard you're in Miami. You want to hang out?
I mean, what does Ross have to do with it?
The rehab he went to, wasn't that in, like, the Philippines?
No, it was in Palm Beach or something.
Oh, it was in Palm Beach. I thought Colin went out of the country for that.
No. Thailand. He went to Thailand. So I'm sort of weird.
A blind monkey could tell you I'm an addict.
You like not being called a liar. So
right. Whatever you want to call me.
So, anyway.
So
I heard that your weird intervention when it was your sister and Colin.
It wasn't an intervention because it was two people. An intervention is a big thing.
Well, for a while, everyone was trying to get me to come to an intervention.
Right. My sister said to me.
No.
My sister said to me during the middle. I said, look, it's just me and Colin. I could have went bigger with this. And I said,
it's not time for the big one?
I said, I know. And I said, I'm coming, Elizabeth. This is the big one.
The word on
I wish it was time for the big one.
People are explaining their theories about you, all the time to me. So I go.
By the way, I heard Howard 100 News, and thank God Will didn't send that note because that would have been terrible.
What was the note?
What note?
Will said on Howard 100 News, all these fags on the news. I was going to send Hardy a note to say good luck, but I would have looked like a fool. And then Jason goes, well, I guess Jason sounded so faggy. He goes, well, again, we're all caught up in Artie's web of drug lies. Have you ever heard anyone with a dick say web of something? So I went to this place to go detox, which is what they do. That's what they do there. Everyone's hung up on the word rehab. It's not a rehab. They don't want to be known as a rehab. But when I'm texting somebody, I don't know how to explain that because they don't really let you make a lot of phone calls. They don't like that part of it.
Right.
So to me, it was a rehab because I had to stop doing everything I was doing immediately. They don't let you do drugs. Right. You got to go there. And the people that I was with were all trying to get off dope and cigarettes and sleeping pills. People were there with terminal cancer. It's a heavy place, Right. And you got to go to meetings and shit. And these what they do when they saw my blood, they take your blood first and they send you to a doctor who analyzes your blood. And they said, all right, listen, your kidneys aren't bad, thank God. Thank God my prostate is like, that must be hereditary. I have a fantastic prostate.
And, you have a fantastic prostate.
Yeah. I don't know how that happens. So, but they said, look, in the blood work, they said, I know you're worried about your liver. And I said, yeah, I am. And quite frankly, that's what keeps me away from the doctor. And they say, fear kills people. You got to go to the doctor, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, what's it look like? We got it done now. And she said, well, the last time you got blood work done, had you just been drugging and drinking? I said, probably within 24 hours. They said, that's why. Your enzymes were way up, and that's why it could look bad. You get a false reading. They said, all the enzymes are fine except one, but it's an important one. And I don't know what that means, but they said it's an important one. It's very high. But it's reversible. So in a week, we could reverse this whole thing. You just got to follow this plan. So they had me every morning getting up and drinking cucumber juice. Okay. I have to do a huge shot of cucumber juice. Then you need a prescription for an apple. Okay, that's how hardcore it is. You can't have an apple because it's sugar. There's no sugar, all right? Yeah. Everything's raw food. And an apple, fruits are sugary. You can't have them. So it's all vegetables. So I get my prescription for an apple. The reason I get the apple is because I have to down 3 cloves of garlic every morning, noon and night. And the only way you could do it is with an apple.
Well, what the hell are you eating garlic for?
Because that is a quick fix for your liver. That's all liver
trying to ward off a vampire.
Well, that's what I said. I said, is a vampire going to come and kill me? They said, no, it's all for your liver. This is fast shit for your liver. So,
all right, here, let me ask you some questions.
So then, then every night, then every morning, noon, and night, after the cucumber juice, I have to get what they call a wheatgrass implant. It's not an enema.
What's a wheatgrass implant?
They shove it up they shoot wheatgrass up your ass.
How do they get it in there?
Like they... They have like an IV bag above you.
But it's with water.
They pour it with wheatgrass. They put wheatgrass in it. And it's liquid, though. They liquefy it. And it goes down and into your ass. A nurse has to do this.
So it's an enema.
It's an enema.
No, but you're not supposed to shit it out. You're supposed to hold it in there for as long as possible because...
It's like a colonic, Robin.
But it's an enema. It's a retention enema is what they call it.
It's retention.
She knows all those words.
Robin,
she knows about it. She does all that stuff.
I didn't hear that.
Didn't you retain it?
I did.
How long did you hold it?
Retaining my hatred for you. So this goes right up to my liver.
Yeah.
In 7 seconds, it gets to your liver.
Right.
So, and then it just cleanses it. So between that and the garlic, the next day, I was rolling around in pain. And I said, look, I feel like I'm going to shit out my liver. Because they told me exactly where it was. They said, that's all the toxins leaving, man. You got to, wait that out. So the next day, I get a colonic. This is like, I go to this woman, 58-year-old woman, right? She's like, oh, I've been living by... Everyone who gives you a colonic, it takes a half a fucking hour. They have to tell you their history of colonics about why it's helped them.
Right.
So she's like, and it's a dainty old woman telling me, I tell you, since I've gone raw food, every stool is 1.5 feet.
Oh, boy.
And I go, listen.
Isn't that a treat?
Right.
Wow.
So
Why would you want a 1.5-foot stool?
So that's what I said.
Right.
Well, if it's in, don't you want it out?
She said, otherwise you're impacted. That's what she said. So the first enema, I couldn't take it in my ass. I said to her, I can't do this. You're hurting my ass. She goes, you have a very tight rectum. I said, well, yeah.
And
I want to keep it.
In there.
You're a virgin.
I want to keep it that way. So I had to get off the table. I ran off, but she had shit in me. So I took an 8-hour shit. That was all the stuff coming out of me. And, like, it sounded like a machine gun.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was the most refreshing. Like, I lost weight from the shit. And, my weight pants, my size of my pants changed. So she said,
how much shit came out of you, do you think?
Howard, I don't know. I was probably on the shitter for a good 5 minutes.
Well, how much did you lose the next day? We'll see how many pounds.
Well, they don't weigh every day. So then she said, well, your second one will be better. You'll be a little more, I don't know.
Relaxed.
I guess, yeah, because she said you're very tense. I said, well, I don't like shit up my ass. And I asked the question, I think someone asked it in here, and I wasn't trying to be funny. I said, how do you think gay guys do this? Because it's really...
Does it hurt when they put the tube in your ass?
Yes, it does. And then you feel like it's perforating something. And you go, whoa, stop. And they go, no, it's normal. It's all just like, muscle.
Normal.
Did they tell you to take a big, deep breath? And...
Oh, yeah. And I said I would have done that anyway.
Robin, I didn't realize how difficult, because Robin doesn't have that much trouble with insertion.
Well, how many inches do you take?
She takes over 4 inches.
They don't have enough hose.
They said we tried to go to the big hose for you because, you're a big guy. But she said, would you prefer the standard? And I'm like going, standard.
The small one.
Yeah, so that's why it fell out the first time. It wasn't in long enough.
All right, so let me understand what's going on here. So here's
I have been, this place got me detoxed, and I have been off drugs for 15 days, to Christmas Eve.
So what drugs were you doing when you told us you were,
when you were clean.
When you were clean, but you really weren't.
I wasn't doing, before I left. You were doing heroin. I wasn't doing heroin before I left.
Okay.
I did it in between my time, the last day here, and going to...
you fell off the wagon right out, as soon as we went on vacation.
Probably, no.
The heroin way.
December 19th. December 20th is when I fell off the wagon.
So when you called me, you told me that you're feeling now like you beat heroin.
I did.
Do you still feel that way?
Yes.
Wow.
Because I got past, listen, my experience with it, I never in my life have gotten past that 4th hell day.
Yeah.
I always pussy out and take a Subutex.
Right.
And I was going to do it the first time, but that's when I found out about the Subutex. So the goal here was, excuse me.
So are we looking at the new Artie? I mean, like, are you a new reborn Artie?
I feel good. I'm trying to be healthier. And,
what are you going to do? Like what are you going to eat today on the air? What are you going to eat on the air today?
Like today, I'm not having my bagel or anything. I'm just going to get I'm going to have the turkey burger without the bread. So,
wow.
Don't you think that might trigger something? Haven't you only been on raw food?
No, I left the place.
You went to Nobu.
Well, he was when I asked raw food, I said to Colin Quinn, I said, you mean like sushi and chicken? I started to like sushi. He's like, no.
So
I had 8 days of raw food, man. For me, that's like, that's a hard time.
What did you do? But you went to Nobu. You didn't have 8 days. Oh, you had 8 days and then you went to Nobu.
It's been 15 days.
Okay.
When he moved to Miami.
Right. And I went. Right. Well, here's what happened with Miami. We started. Me and two of the other kids started breaking. We were like, we had the lamest New Year's Eve. We went to bed at 9 o'clock, and you're up so early there doing all this shit.
You're tired.
Yeah. So I would sleep before I had a chance to eat. It wasn't that bad. So I was waking up in the morning. When you wake up and you somehow avoid that urge to eat the night before, you feel great.
Right.
But there's no reward. It's an apple and garlic. So me and these two other kids who had money, everybody has money because it's very expensive. It's in West Palm Beach. So
you know what Sam Kinison said? Some listener reminded me of this. He said, if you go to $13,000 rehab, he goes, if you have $13,000... You
don't have a drug problem.
You don't have a drug problem because...
Well, that was back then. 13 grand was way more.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? He's saying, like, you haven't... Someone else said this to me. Someone you know, actually. Said the thing with Artie is...
Everyone has the thing with Artie.
Artie hasn't hit rock bottom. The problem is... He's doing drugs and stuff, but he's doing the best he's ever done in his career.
Right, that's bad.
That's bad.
But here, this is why I have something that I'm... here's what... I listen to a lot of the show.
Right.
I'm begging you to do this. I really, and I will comply with this, and it's unbelievable because I'm saying to do this. Hey, no other work accuses someone of being a heroin addict doesn't accept random drug tests.
Right. We don't want your random drug test.
Why?
Because Artie, you're missing the point.
Listen.
You don't even ever have to lie to me. You can tell me when you're on heroin because
I'm not
I don't care.
I talk to you 90% on the air. I don't feel like telling people out there I'm doing heroin.
I care about your health and all that, but one of the things I've said, even when they approached me about an intervention, I said, Artie does a good job with me. I don't have a problem. You guys have a problem.
I know, but here's rock bottom. If you want to accept that guy's advice, because Chris Rock came in here too, and he's seen a lot of people in his life who've gone through this. He said, look, you're going to have to fire him. That's the only way to get rid of him.
But I don't want to fire you.
Okay, well then, listen, then you're going to have to keep dealing with this because...
I'm not dealing with anything. You're doing fine.
All right, well then, why... Don't stop... If I'm not here, don't talk about it on the air then.
No, you have to... If you don't show up, I got to go, hey, there's a reason the guy's not here.
Yeah, well then, but then play Blue Iris blowing somebody. You don't have to talk about it.
I can't say to my audience... Hey, Artie's not here. We don't know what's going on. I mean...
Right, but that could be a 10-minute conversation. It doesn't have to be 4 hours of the show.
I'm just saying you don't have to lie to me. I read your book. I left you a lot of messages.
Yeah, by the way,
the book is great.
For those.
The book was great. I mean, really, really great. I love it. I recommend it to everyone. But, man, it got me so sad for you. I mean, there's a lot of good laughs and everything, but...
there's a lot of shit, man.
I read the book. I said, geez, I said to Beth, I didn't even realize how heavy your problem was. Like, I know I've heard all those stories, but, like, when it's all in the book and written down like that, it kind of hit me.
Like that,
yeah, I just said, poor Artie's going through freaking hell with this stuff. And I said, if he needs time off, he can take it.
Right.
And
you said that before, though. You said that before.
I did, but I mean, that's why when I heard you were in, so-called rehab.
Rehab is the word everybody's hung up on. Right. I went to a place to get off drugs, but it's not called a rehab. But it was hell for me, and it worked right till now. But
let me ask you something. Why did you have different expected return dates?
Because, well, here's what happened. My sister is not talking to me right now because I promised her I'd go for 3 weeks.
Right.
But listen, I mean, I don't know if you... I mean, Howard, I know you can relate to this with work, although you've never had to deal with other problems. I wanted to get back this week because there's a big thing going on in my career right now. There's a Rolling Stone profile going on, and if I couldn't be back this week, who knows when that's going to happen. They said, look, we're going to lose the article.
Right.
So I was like, I'm going to get it together, and if I'm still sober, I'm going to come back and try to be here for that. The reporter wanted to see me do stand-up, so I have a gig next week in Florida, and I said, well, come to that. And she said, that's too late.
Oh.
So I said, well, what if I book gigs at Caroline's for the weekend of the 8th and 9th? And she said, okay, that's better. And I'll get back. I'll get back to Howard first. Because I said, I'm not going to do a stand-up gig without doing the show first. So
I respect your sister, though. I mean, you are putting her through hell. I realize that in the book. I realize what you're doing to your mother and your sister ain't right.
It's terrible. Why? I mean, listen, I throw money at the situation, but they don't care, about that. They want me to be healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a way, even like Stacey... I don't know Stacey, so I'm probably talking out of my ass.
Right.
But she probably can't even get into a relationship with a guy because she's so worried about you.
Well, I'm starting to get hit with that now. And, I love my sister, but I refuse to accept that kind of guilt. No, I refuse. Look, there's my sister is the best catch on the planet. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's got a great job. She makes money. It's... she's met a couple of guys who were, quite frankly, assholes. It's not nothing to do with my life, and it's hard for a single woman to get a good man nowadays. And my sister has standards. I don't mind that. But, I'm dealing with a lot of guilt. Of guilt, okay? And
did they get into any therapy with you over there? Like, did they talk to you about, like, maybe you're feeling guilty? Because when I read the book, it became a couple of things became very clear to me from your book. Number one, you're feeling tremendous guilt not being there, of course, for your father when he fell off the ladder, because that was your job to hold the ladder. And you started college and, all that. Secondly, I was going to tell you this, Orlando Jones ain't calling you back, although you say he did now.
He tried to call me. I don't know. I got to sleep.
But he ain't calling you back because you put him through hell.
Right.
I mean, the guy, he's probably afraid of you.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see that.
Well, no, listen, Howard, of course that went through my mind.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like...
Guy hears your voice on his voicemail and gets the shit.
I mean, no, but I
probably like, Jesus Christ.
I figured that out.
Yeah.
Because I was there when I was putting him through hell.
And I want to interview the guy who used his credit card when you shit all over the bed.
Okay, well, that's Josh.
Because I got to interview him because, I mean...
That's Josh or Tara, one of the two.
I'm sure after you shit all over the bed, they must have called him and said, hey, dude, you shit all over the bed.
Well, I'll tell you what, I did a couple years later when I was back in L.A. doing the Norm show, I played in a poker game with that guy.
Right.
And he never brought it up to me. And I'm I'm pretty sure I asked him, and he went, they never said anything about it.
Oh, really?
So,
no.
You know.
So it's not a good story.
I guess the hotel never says anything when people shit.
Yeah, I think they wanted our business again. I mean, we took over. It was you know what? I think it's still there. It's a little piece of shit in Malibu, but it's nice because it's right on the ocean, you know.
So we were right when you came in and told us that you had a 4:30 in the morning doctor's appointment, that there was no doctor's appointment.
When I went to the guy to get a doctor's note. Oh. I know a guy that will give you a doctor's note if you want it. And I went there, you know, to get it.
To get a doctor's note for what?
Well, just in case I needed it at work.
Oh, heroin?
No, not a prescription. A note saying, look, I saw Artie, I'm a doctor.
Oh.
You know, signed Epstein's mother, you know. The guy,
so what was happening that day?
He's a shady guy.
Oh, what was happening that day? For real?
Well, I was throwing up from a lot of drinking and everything else. And
what else?
Listen, I had this acid reflux, which is away now. And the doctor's note guy said you might have a bleeding ulcer. That's why I'm saying, oh fuck, you know.
So I was sick. What else were you doing besides drinking? What else
I was taking
a
lot of painkillers.
Oh, you were?
A lot of painkillers.
What kind of
which are opiates, you know. It's like pills for heroin.
Yeah. What do you think's going to happen?
Vicodin and Percocet are...
Where do you think we're going with all this, honestly?
I don't know, Howard.
Do you
Book 2.
Oy vey.
No, I got a lot. I want to see you
survive. Should I be doing something, man? Because I don't know what to do about this.
I got a lot left over.
Well, he's saying he wants you to drug test him.
Yeah. All right, I'll drug test
Well, that's what you're saying. What should I do? Listen, if you do a random drug test, the first one I fail, I'll leave the show.
Okay.
Okay?
Would that help you?
And that's it.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, what about Rock?
Because
he wants to leave the show.
But then if you want to leave the show, you know you can leave whatever you want.
I don't want to leave the show. Come on.
I think she's onto something.
Oh, stop it. I don't want to leave the show.
Why would having me drug... Like, because you
think I see what they're giving me at Caroline this weekend, I don't want to leave the show.
Is that because you think of me as your boss? Like, you need a boss to do that for you? I don't kind of feel like your boss.
All right, well, then let if one of the other executives wants to...
But I don't think they're not looking at you like... They're like, hey,
Howard, you're saying, what should I do? I'm giving you an example. That's all I know how to do. You want me to... You're not
all right, I'll drug test you.
If you want to randomly drug test me...
What are you going to do if he...
Okay, what about a 2-week suspension?
No.
Without paying?
No. I got it.
Will I have to go to Miami?
Then drug test me.
No. He has to go to real rehab.
All right. Here's the deal.
I can't do stand-up for too much.
Here's your deal. Here's your deal.
Okay.
We're going to drug test you.
All right.
All right, listen to this. Robin's got something going.
Why is Robin's mic on? Why is the one person in the room who thinks logically?
If you fail your drug test,
I'm your conscience.
How about this?
I hear your voice.
If you fail your drug test, you have to make out with high-pitched Mike.
No.
This ain't going to happen. Why? So what are you afraid of?
Why would you want to kill high-pitched Mike?
We've already had a colonic.
All right, here you go. Here's what
he's a virgin. I've had more on my ass than high-pitched Mike.
The day, Stacey's going to like this. Yeah. The day you fail your drug test.
Yes.
And I don't know what these drug tests even pick up. Do they pick up everything?
There's a lot of urban legends about drug tests. One is weed stays for 30 days.
Go ahead.
Coke is supposed to be 3 days.
Go ahead.
Booze is 24 hours.
Okay.
And Look at how he knows.
And the rest...
Well, you have to.
Well, you know, and if you drink, I'll tell you what, you know what can get Coke out of your system, and maybe even weed, no, Coke, is if you drink, you got to drink like a half a gallon of vinegar before the drug test.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, and you won't. All these junkie kids who I went to high school with, a couple of them played baseball with me. They'd be at baseball practice chugging vinegar. Like, what are you doing? I got a piss.
Would it pick up the painkillers?
That I don't know. I don't know. But those are opiates. You know, I guess it also depends on how much you take.
And what about, I heard rumors you're into cough syrup. Is that true?
That's like a, no, not like the painkillers. No, cough syrup. I would have to drink 3.5 gallons of it to get high. I got in a situation with that where it was like a mental thing, where I thought if I didn't have it, like a teddy bear, I couldn't perform. I started thinking I'm going to lose my voice on the weekends to do stand-up.
Oh.
But isn't that alcohol, cough syrup? Because I knew a guy...
It's not even alcohol, it's codeine.
Yeah, I worked with a DJ who was addicted to that. He used to drink tons of cough syrup during his show. I mean, this guy had a real problem.
It's a painkiller.
Right.
It's codeine. You know.
And a cough suppressor.
So if I give you a drug test, will it pick it up?
Absolutely.
Oh, will.
Sure, that's codeine. That's an opiate. That's an opiate. And morphine's in the shit I was taking.
All right, so if you fail your random drug test here, the deal is...
I got to go to regular rehab.
You got to go for a month.
A 30-day
30 days.
Lockdown.
Like where you got to go...
No going to Miami.
And we pick
no
the
Miami,
rehab.
Robin?
And we pick the rehab. No Miami rehab.
No spearmint rhino?
In a cold, dank place.
No, it's not.
In a shithole where you got to put up...
I know a great place.
Rehab because he didn't like the beds.
I know a great place. Oh, Howard, this place, it's the best place in the world. I recommend it to anyone trying to get better, but you know what, guys? You got to watch the run.
Really?
I had my own suite. I dropped up 13 grand. I wish it was 13 grand, by the way. And I had a suite. Like, you know, I said to my sister and Colin as I'm going to the fucking plane, I said, listen, I'm not fucking shitting with anybody else. I'm not showering with anybody else. I said, I want my own. They said, all right, you'll get all of that.
No. All right. When you go to our rehab, you're going to have to do all of that.
You're going to have to clean toilets.
I ain't having a roommate.
I'll
go away. I don't want a roommate.
We're going to send you to Minnesota.
You can't set the... You've got to be a penalty that'll really scare you.
This is enough of a penalty.
No, you get a roommate.
No.
I don't get a roommate.
You get a roommate and a toothbrush to clean.
Fuck the 2 years. I'll leave.
That's what I mean.
See?
Can't win with you.
Problem.
Okay, but no, this is a negotiation, all right?
No, I'm not.
I know a great place in La Jolla, California.
No,
you Here's the place.
No, but
you'll like that.
You're going to a place upstate New York.
My sister found a really nice place, she said.
That's where you're going.
A nice place by the fact that it's a good rehab.
Right. Not that it has nice rooms.
Plush.
The one your sister wants is the one you got to go to if you fail your drug test.
Okay, I'll agree to that.
Okay.
Now we're talking.
Wow.
I'm not doing any drugs till the summer.
You're going to ruin the summer at that point.
So is booze included in this?
Yeah.
Booze, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Do you want a drink? If you want a drink, we can, like...
No, listen, I'm in the first month of this shit. It's hard, you know? Yeah. But I'll tell you the one thing. Like, I got to a point with Coke where I just had it. I had it. Like, the high isn't worth the shit I'm going through.
Right.
So I really feel like I've gotten to that point with opiates. I feel like that.
Right.
But booze is so prominent. It's tough. But look, okay, that's a deal.
All right.
I'll do that.
I'll set up this random drug. Gary, set up a random drug test.
Random drug testing.
Yeah.
It's got to be ongoing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right, okay.
Jeez. Pain in the ass.
Now Gary's like a jailer.
I smoked weed right before I went to rehab.
That's what you meant, like,
there's this chick, the chick that, it's funny Robin remembers this chick, the chick you met. She's a party.
Right.
You know, she's good looking.
How could you forget her?
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, she's fun. She's what you call fun.
Right.
And, you know, a couple of days before I went away, she came over to my place. And, sometimes she's in New York at like 5 a.m. I got a call. And, so we smoked weed, too. So that would show up now. It's been whatever.
So when would you like your random drug testing to start?
Give me a year.
No. We can start the random drug testing now, knowing that we should see marijuana, but the marijuana should eventually disappear.
All right, listen. So 3 days ago, this chick... No, okay, fine. Whatever you want to do. All right, let's start it.
All right,
Artie, way to go.
We can't trust you for a week or two on your own.
Okay.
Go pee in Fred's cup.
And drink it. Oh, it wouldn't it be great, because we'll just say one day on the air, Artie, time for your drug test.
Okay.
And then I go, no, not today.
And then, you know, and then
right into rehab for you.
Right into rehab, and whoever's driving the car, of course, will have to turn around at gunpoint and go to Miami.
We'll pat you down.
I agree with this whole thing that you haven't hit rock bottom. Like
he can't. He's soaring too high.
You're soaring too high.
It's
the
weird.
book's doing well. You're still on the bestseller list,
the
which
book
is unbelievable.
Kicking ass. It's been on there for 7 weeks.
Yeah, the publisher loves you. All these people love you.
Cash is rolling in.
Cash is rolling in.
Cash is rolling out.
Yeah, you're doing stand-up. What about gambling? You going to give that up?
I haven't gambled, but do I like the Giants this week.
Yeah.
You didn't gamble on any of the games?
No. I didn't watch any of the games. I was too depressed. I was like...
You didn't watch Penn State?
No, I didn't see any of that.
Wow.
Do you remember the story I told you? I was going to write an article, a chapter in my next book about this chick called Traffic Getting Out of Pittsburgh. Do you remember the chick I met in Pittsburgh last year?
Yeah.
And I was too much traffic, and I went to her apartment, and we banged all day. And she's into Neil Young. She's really cool.
Right.
So what happened was Friday night, she had texted me over the holidays and said, happy holidays and stuff. And what really got me to leave, like the nail in the coffin, was she was in Miami, the girl.
Aye.
And I said, well, I'm down here in Palm Beach. What are you doing? I said, I'm with some friends. And she said, well, I'm going home today. And I begged her to stay an extra day. I said, I got a nice hotel and everything. So she stayed, and that's originally why I went to South Beach.
Oh.
I went there.
You banged her again?
Yeah.
How was that?
The night I was supposed to go out with Ross on the boat.
You were banging.
I said, I'll get a real nice hotel. I said, please just stay there. And And she was like, well, you know, it's been a long time. I don't want to do anything, really.
Yeah,
you know?
sure.
And then I went there, and she had a couple of glasses of the Pinot Grigio.
Right.
I had changed for her flight to get changed.
Loosened her up.
But she's the coolest chick ever. She lives in this cool little apartment just outside of Pittsburgh. And I don't know. You know what? She had more going on in her life that was complicated when I met her. But now, I don't know. There might be a
little love connection?
Yeah, but she smokes weed, though.
Well, you're going to be around people who smoke weed. I mean,
but he doesn't need to be involved with one.
Well.
And who told you I was officially out on the boat? Because that was complete bullshit.
I got worried about that.
I tried to go. But I couldn't. I was getting a colonic.
Ross didn't give me the word. Someone else gave me the word.
No, because Ross completely denied that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the truth. I wasn't out on a boat.
Then I got somebody gave me a report that yet another assistant quit.
No, not quit.
No?
It was very, like, you know, she was helping me out while she was looking for a job.
And she got a job?
Yeah, so you know, it was very amicable. But I need a new assistant. I think I'm going to hire that chick you met, Robin.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
She might keep you straight.
The half-black chick?
Well, Artie, good to have you back.
Just to see her every day.
Yeah, she's hot. Well, the other assistant was smoking, too. I'm only doing smoking hot assistant.
Well, there you go. Well, by the way, we saw a picture of you walking down the road with a baseball bat. What's going on with that? You look like Buford Pusser. Yeah, we got this guy.
That's so funny.
This guy snapped a picture of you from his car.
That's at my rehab.
Right.
They let you out to walk every morning. Every morning at like 7 a.m. I took a walk, and I bought a baseball bat, and I would swing the bat every once in a while just for exercise.
Oh, I see. All right.
So I'm taking my morning walk there.
I thought it was like walking tall.
Well, yeah, I'm going to beat up some drug
Right, you're going to take care of business.
Your journalist from Rolling Stone magazine is here, so just so
wait a minute. She's coming today?
I guess she's here. Female.
I know. She flew in from L.A. Now, by the way, all these journalists, my assistant calls me up and goes, listen, she's got to do this. You got to book a gig at Caroline's because she wants to do stand-up and she wants to come to Howard. You got to square that with Howard. I'm like, yeah, well, what's the rush? Cause, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I go, well, get her on the phone. Let's talk. We can't get her. She's in Hawaii.
Yeah,
she's on a break.
Yeah,
Why
she's on a break. I'm like, there's no fucking phones in Hawaii.
Why is it such a rush to get, like, they haven't done an article on you in the history of Rolling Stone.
There's a deadline?
Now they have to get this done?
I think with a guy like me, they're like, look, there's a window here, pal.
Right, yeah. Yeah, there's only so much heat you're generating.
Yeah, we got a big article on David Cross coming up next month.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's bullshit, but I've done a couple articles for Rolling Stone.
Look, it's a dream, you know.
Yeah, I know. It was a big deal to me, too. I got the cover. I got the cover twice, and I have it hanging on in my office.
Plus, when it was still like, look, I'm not going to insult Rolling Stone. Now they're doing an article.
Right, they're doing an article right now.
You got on there before,
when it was cool.
Before NSYNC was on the cover. Before Joey Fatone was on the cover.
Yeah, I was on there when like Robert Plant used to.
Yeah.
But no, you know, it's Rolling Stone to me still is a prestige thing. I understand wanting to be in Rolling Stone, believe me.
Yeah.
But
it's a big time.
They give you all this pressure. They got to get their article done, and you know, and then she got to see you do stand up and this and that the other thing. Meanwhile, she could just rent your video.
A monkey.
She could look at your DVD and see you do stand up. I mean, yeah, that's all bullshit. What I did is I totally conned my Rolling Stone reporter.
What'd you do? Well, you probably had more power too, though.
No, here's what I did. This is the way you do it. Whenever I'd read an article in Rolling Stone, and I am a big fan of Rolling Stone, there's always like this cool part where the reporter, every Rolling Stone article starts the same way.
Right.
The reporter's sitting there, and they're going, well, I'm going to go interview so-and-so, Howard Stern. And I got off the train, let's say, and I got to his house, and then they
give you their life right before the article.
Yeah, and the subject is, whoever the subject of the article is always doing something cool, and like, you know, so I said, what am I going to do? I got to pick up the Rolling Stone reporter at the train because he's coming to my house.
Right. It's like Lenny Kravitz had just finished the beer while he leaves.
So I get I get the oldest, shittiest car I can get because I go, and that Howard Stern picked me up in like a '76 Rambler.
So you're planning it out.
I'm planning it out because I'm planning the first sentence.
Yeah.
So then I picked the guy up, and I put on the radio this obscure black radical radio station that only plays like Jamaican music and has like black radical guys.
Yeah.
Because I go, can you imagine the first line of this thing? Howard Stern picks me up in a '76 Rambler or a '67 Rambler, And he's got a beat-up old AM radio, and he blasts this Jamaican angry black radical station, and I go, that's going to be so fucking cool. Like, there's no reality to me. It's just I want to fabricate an interesting life.
Right.
So pick him up, have the radio blaring, all that stuff.
Is the writer a known guy?
Oh, yeah.
Was it that David Wild guy?
David Wild, great guy. Yeah. He must have seen through all my bullshit. He didn't print one damn thing about the radio station, about the Rambler.
Well, it would have been funny if the first sentence was like, Howard picks me up trying to look cool in an old car.
Right. I used to fabricate all kinds of things, but reporters never fell for it. I'll never forget, I was being interviewed by... I don't know, like not 60 Minutes.
Stone Phillips.
Stone Phillips for 2020 or whatever. Dateline. Okay, one of these shows. And they said, well, we're going to film you at work. We wanted to see what you do.
All right.
So I told Gary, go out and get a chick in a wheelchair, a real wheelchair chick. But
real wheelchair.
Yeah, she was dying.
Yeah, she was dying.
She had an oxygen tank.
I remember this.
She had cancer.
When Stone Phillips walks in, just Gary, knock on the door. 5 minutes.
She really had cancer.
Yeah, she had cancer. She was dying. She's dead.
Did die.
She's dead. She's dead.
She's a big fan. She's a big fan.
Big fan. Hey, I get this letter. I go, perfect.
We have him really die.
I'm the one who needs rehab in this room.
Yeah, I didn't want. So I said, when Stone Phillips walks in, 5 minutes into it, when the camera's rolling, knock on my door and say, hey, Howard, I know you're in the middle of an interview, but there's a girl here who's dying, and she just needs to speak to you. And I'll go, well, there's a camera rolling. Does she mind being on camera? But Gary arranged that she already wanted to be on camera. So they're going to wheel her in.
Right.
Then I said about a half hour into that, after the wheelchair chick comes in, and I'm kind to her on TV, then I had him wheel in someone who... I was going to heal someone, right?
Well, no. I think
a kid to be healed.
I think you tried to heal her. I think that's where it went wrong.
Yeah.
She's in a wheelchair. You started putting your hands on her head, and even Stone Phillips
That's like when the guy tried to
laughing.
That's like when the guy tried to heal my father.
Yeah.
You can walk. Get up and walk right now.
Right. So, I don't know. They cut it all out. They saw through my bullshit.
I remember your whole Rolling Stone thing, Howard, was you had read an article. This is what got you started on this. Tom Cruise picks a reporter up in a convertible and just pulls over to school and decides he's going to shoot hoops with the guy.
Right.
And you're like, there's no way that's what he does every day.
Who said that? Who did that?
It was in one of the articles.
Douchebag.
And I think one of the other things you did, you wanted to have people calling you and asking you advice and thanking you for something?
That's what happened. While Stone Phillips was there, I would open the door. Howard, Dee Snider's on the phone.
Right.
Howard, Leslie West is on the phone. Which is,
Yeah, my cool rock association. Kinnison needs you.
Well, that's my Lorne Michaels story. Did I tell you that when he made me wait for an hour? To tell me he would never put me on Saturday Night Live. He goes, I'm waiting there. I get there at 5 o'clock at his office in Paramount on the Paramount lot. Very intimidating, out in L.A. This is when I was doing the Spade movie. Spade let me leave the set 2 hours early to go meet Lorne, and I get there, and his assistant says, sit there. It's a 5 o'clock appointment. At 5:20, I'm still sitting there. And I swear to God, these were the 3 names. I shit you not. She goes, Lauren, I have Steve Martin, and Artie Lang is here. Okay. Number 2, Artie, I have Martin. Lauren, I have Martin Short on the phone, and Artie Lang is still here. Right. Now it's 10 to 6. I'm waiting there 50 minutes.
That's a bullshit move,
This is the knockout punch. Lauren, I have Paul McCartney. And Artie Lang is still here. I don't get into,
and Artie Lang should leave.
Really? Why were you still there?
I have one of the Beatles and Artie Lang.
Wait, and the whole premise was for him to tell you that you'll never be on the show?
What happened was I'm going to put this story in my next book, but it was crazy. Because Norm said... Remember I thought Darren Aronofsky was trying to fuck with me?
Right.
Norm said, no, Lauren's the kind of guy, he'll fuck with you.
Right.
Because it was the summer, I had done Mad TV for a couple of years, and I was shooting the Spade. So it was after Dirty Work even came out. So I was sort of on his radar, because I did a movie with Norm. But he hated anybody who tried to do Mad TV, which makes sense, So I got a call to go see him, and my agent at William Morris at the time said, listen, you got to just drop what you're doing with tell Spade you got to go, because he's going to want you to do the show.
Right.
I guarantee he doesn't meet people like this. And it was the summer before they hired Jimmy Fallon and the fat kid, Horatio Sands. So I guess he was looking for a fat guy, maybe.
Right.
So it was the summer of '98. So I get my fucking... I get off of the movie, which was a hassle, and Spade said, just go,
Yeah.
And... this is where my buddies from Jersey come in. I'm driving through crosstown traffic. My friend, the bad cop, calls me up and goes, I need $1,000. You got to Western Union me $1,000. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, I got to get the fuck out of town. They handed me shit at work, and I'm like, I'm taking my girlfriend, I'm going out of town. I go, it's got to wait 2 hours. He goes, I'm not fucking waiting. You know, I did a lot for you. He throws the guilt on me. Right. So now, before I go see Lorne Michaels, I stop at a Ralph's on Sunset Boulevard, and I Western Union him $1,000. Part of the 40 grand I'll never see. So I'm almost late, and I get there just on time, so I got all this adrenaline going. I find this fucking office, and now it makes me wait for him.
Wow. So
after all that stuff with Paul McCartney and everything, he comes out of his office. He emerges. And he looks at his assistant. He's not looking at me. He never makes eye contact.
Dick.
He looks at his assistant. He goes, Artie, come in. You know.
Like, he doesn't even.
No. So I get up and I get up and I walk over there.
Gee, I can't wait to work for you, sir.
Really?
Right. I get up and I walk over there, and it's this sprawling office. It's like the biggest office on Paramount's lot. And, you know, there's pictures of Wayne's World up and you know, whatever. The fuck.
To remind you who
he
is.
Pieces of crap. Yeah.
Well, you know.
All the shit movies.
Wayne's World's funny.
Yeah, Wayne's World's good, yeah. They should put all these shitty movies up.
Yeah.
It's one of those offices where the desk is enormous in the corner, but it doesn't look like it's been used. And there's a big, like, sprawling
conference area,
couch,
right.
Conference area. Okay, yeah, I don't know that.
Conversation pit.
So he goes, sit over there, and I sit on the end of the couch, and then he sits at the other end of the other couch. And I swear to you, Howard, he didn't look at me for 20 minutes.
Wow.
Okay? So he starts going, he goes, how's the Spade movie? And I said, it's going good, you know. We think it's funny, I guess. Otherwise, we'd stop shooting it, you know. He goes, yeah, I hear it's good. I hear it's going. I hear you're funny. He goes, you were funny in Norm's movie. I go, oh, thank you. And then he goes, you know, it's weird in Hollywood how sometimes actors, you know, the old saying is like, get me Artie Lang. Right. Get me someone who's not Artie Lang. And then it's get me Artie Lang.
Right.
And then it's get me an Artie Lang type.
Right.
That's how it's fleeting. Your stardom could go away. You know, he says some like bumper sticker thing to me.
Right.
And I'm like, what is he talking about? You know, and he goes, so you're still where you're sort of wanted still. That's kind of nice. And I go, yeah. So then there's a pause. And this is the biggest motherfucker arrogant power move ever. There's this awkward pause, and he goes, without looking at me, looking at a piece of paper, he goes, it's your dream to do the show, right? And I go, Saturday Night Live? And he goes, yeah. And, you know, I have...
Don't you just want to go, no, well, this shit hasn't been good for years, asshole.
Well, listen. Yeah. So now, that's what I wanted to do. But right. And I have agents in my life who are like, Art, if you would have got to your knees and said, you're the greatest thing in the history of comedy, he would have put you on the fucking show. Why didn't you do that?
Right.
I said, because, you know what? I don't have that in me, man. I don't know what to do. I don't have that in me. I respect that the guy created the single most influential comedy show ever. I'm a fan of the old Saturday Night Live. I don't watch it a lot now. But so the only thing I could think of to sort of say yes was to say, I said, listen, I don't think there's anybody. I was 29 at the time. I said, I don't think there's anybody in my generation who would say they wouldn't want, you know, hear Don Pardo say, and Artie Lang, you know, like, and that's all I said to him. I refused to, like, get on my knees to the guy. Yeah. Right? But, I mean, still, that was in an indirect way saying yes. So he goes, And then he goes, well, that's not possible. What? And I go, okay.
Why are you there?
I go, why am I here then?
Okay, so what do you want to do? Do you want your car washed? Like, why am I here? I just left the set of a movie, you know. Yeah. I had more lines today. I had to say in the camera. And he goes, well, listen, he goes, you see, I like to discover people. I like to introduce people to the world. He goes,
we've seen some of those people.
He goes, you know, it never works when I don't. He goes, like, Janine was on the show, and she'd been known before it didn't work. Michael McKean had been known before.
Excuse me, what about Marty Short?
See, he didn't produce.
What about Billy Crystal?
He didn't produce the show.
Oh, he didn't? Oh.
He wasn't the producer.
Yeah, maybe he's right.
That was Gene Dominion produced those shows.
Those were some of the best shows, though.
I know. Lorne wasn't the producer then. Hey, Lorne didn't produce...
Maybe Lorne ought to quit.
Lorne didn't produce Eddie Murphy years.
Right.
He wasn't there for that.
Yeah.
He goes, that's what I've tried it and it never works. He goes, you see, the country has been introduced to you before. He goes, you did Norm's movie. He goes, you did Mad TV for 2 years. And he goes, why did you do that? And I said, what do you mean, why did I do that?
Because I was a dock worker.
Now I'm getting a little annoyed. He goes, I saw your tape from Mad TV. I go, yeah. He goes, you're quite good. You're very good.
Yeah.
He goes, you're very present in the sketches. You can do characters. You're very, very confident. He goes, how come we didn't see you? And I said, Lauren, I don't know. I said I had an agent at the... I said, Mr. Michaels, actually. I said, Mr. Michaels, listen,
He's there to yell at you.
I had an agent at the time. It's almost like I misbehaved in show business school.
Yeah, you're apologizing for him not seeing
it. Why would you do a shitty show like Mad TV, but meanwhile, that's a huge break.
And meanwhile, it's still on the air, and it's taken... It took a chunk out of his ratings.
And it was pretty damn good.
So listen, it's all sketches, man. Right. Mad TV and Saturday Night Live were the same exact thing. Half of them sucked, half of them were good. Right. It's sketches, you know.
That's it.
You hope people remember the good ones. That's how you do in sketch comedy. So I said, well, listen. I said, Mr. Michael, listen, in all due respect, I said, I had an agent at the time. He goes, who are you with? I said, William Morris. He goes, well, they get people to see you. I said, I know, but no one was calling me, man. Yeah. I didn't know there was a door I went to and knocked on it, and you were behind there auditioning people.
But what was the point of this conversation?
Well, listen, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
He goes to me, I said, I was 27 years old. I was making $12,000 a year. I got an audition for a network sketch comedy show.
Yeah.
Huge.
I said, I got the audition. I got offered the part for $8,000 a week. I said, I got my mother is on welfare, which was the truth. I said, what do you want? I took the job.
Right.
I went. I got, and my agent, William Morris, said to me, look, you'll get the job. The pilot will never get picked up.
Right.
If it does, it'll last 6 episodes. You'll have a good reel tape. This will get you on SNL. So William Morris is SNL's puppet. You know? Right. So I'm like, okay, but the show got picked up. It stayed on the air. I did it for 2 years. It got me in a movie.
Right.
It got me working with Norm Macdonald. I'm in the movie business now.
That's right.
And he goes, I'm sorry, because if you did Mad TV, I can't have you on the show.
So why did he...
Meanwhile, since then, kids who have been on Mad TV
have been on Saturday Night Live.
But I guess it wasn't as a recognizable thing. So then I said, so now there's another awkward pause. Why am I here? And he goes, well, listen, the reason I wanted to see you is I was real curious over the years how come we never saw you. So now that explains it. You never got an audition and turned... He thought I got an audition and turned it down. I'm like, yeah, I turned down an SNL audition.
Yeah.
Driving a fucking cab. That's what I did. He goes, Molly's starting a movie next week and next month. And the guy who's directing is from Kids in the Hall, Bruce McCullough, and he said he's worked with you before. And I did. This guy from Kids in the Hall did Mad TV.
Right.
And he says you're quite funny. He goes, I want you to audition for a part, which was the Superstar movie, Mary-Kate Gallagher.
Yeah, right.
He goes, I want you to audition for a part in that I think you're good for. Would you willing to come in next week and audition for it? And I said, yeah, of course. It's a movie.
Sure.
He goes, okay, great. Bruce, and as I'm walking out, Bruce McCullough and Molly Shannon are walking in. I've known Molly for years, and she's the biggest sweetheart on the planet. She sees me, she gives me a big hug. She goes, Artie, are you gonna do this movie? I said, I'm going to audition. She goes, oh, thank you. And I saw, it was like they're coming in, I'm walking out.
So, did you audition?
Okay, so I go back. Now I'm fascinated. I tell Norman Spade. Sorry, I tell Norman Spade the story. And Norm goes, Norm's like an evil fuck. Norm goes, he was fucking with you. I go, what does that mean? He goes, he does that to people. He goes, if he's mad at people, he fucks with them, you know?
Oh, my God.
So why is he mad at you?
I said, why is he? He goes, he's probably, because, you see, I did Mad TV and Dirty Work. Lorne has an arch rival, or used to have an arch rival, in producing comedies. His name is Bobby Simons.
Yeah.
Lorne passed on Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore, these early Sandler movies that became huge hits.
Right.
This other guy, Simons, produced them.
Yeah.
Scooped up Sandler and made a fortune with them. So that guy, Simons, produced Dirty Work. So I worked with his arch enemy in producing. And,
so he went to get you.
It's weird, man. I know it's weird.
Wow. Well, now I don't feel like I was such a dick when I met Lorne Michaels.
Well, but here's what I
was kind of just the opposite because I had some clout.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, look, dude, I was a working actor.
No.
But and a stand-up comic doing the road. So I was like, but here's how it ended. I got I guess. I don't know if you ever found out about this, but I got a little bit back for my own. You know? So sure enough, a couple of days later, the audition comes down. There's these sides for the Superstar movie. I read the script, and again, I love Molly. I hated the script. I said, but Molly doing this, maybe she can make it funny. So I go in, same office. Now, Lorne's not there anymore. He's back in New York. I sit on the couch. Same place where I was sitting when Paul McCartney was calling in and everything. 2 people auditioning for this role. Me and the other kid in the waiting room is David Faustino, the kid from Married with Children.
Stop it. How are you two right for the same role?
And you lost out to him?
Listen, now I knew him because he was, the last couple years of Married with Children was the first 2 years of Mad TV. So this kid was at every Fox party just trying to get laid. Right. He's like a wigger, you know, and he had wigger friends. And So he knows me. He goes, yo, Art, man, what's up? You know, like he does all that shit. It's so pathetic.
And he's a midget.
He goes, yo, Art, what's up, man? He goes, you got an audition for this? I was like, yeah. He goes, what part? And I said the part. He goes, yeah, that's my part. We're auditioning, you know.
What part of him learned how to speak like that when he was on Married with Children?
Right. When was he around the black people?
So it's like 50 Cent talking to me. Right. And I wanted to just deck him. Right. But he's not a bad guy. Actually, he's a nice guy. And like the kid could, you know, he had always a broads around him.
Right.
So thank God, I started thinking to myself, if I go in before him, I was just praying to go in before him, because I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So thank God they kept me waiting last week, and the assistant said, David, do you mind if Artie goes in first, because he's shooting a film? And he goes, oh, no problem. He goes, what film you shoot? Now I'm important because I'm shooting.
Right.
What film you? Oh, Spade. Yeah, he's a friend, Spade. I was going to do that movie, you know, like whatever.
Yeah, sure you were.
So
he didn't have a part. He was just going to do it.
Look, Married with Children was a great show, but this kid was annoying at parties.
Right.
So I go in there, and it's one of these smoking hot blonde chicks that Lauren always has at his, you know, feet. That he gives a job to. Yeah. She's the casting. No, she's the producer.
Okay.
She's the producer. Then there's a casting director, and then there's Bruce McCullough, the director. And they go, Artie, have you looked at the part? And this is all on camera. Yeah. And I go, yeah. I go, but I'm disappointed. He goes, why? I go, I was going to read for you right now, but I'm not even going to bother. And they said, why? I said, I didn't know David Faustino was up for this role. And he goes, what are you talking about? He goes, listen, man. I said, Bruce, do you know David? And he goes, no. I said, David is the funniest guy I've ever met in my life. And I just walked out of the office.
That's funny.
And I said, you know what? I was skipping to my car. I said, fuck them. But I'm sure it doesn't. Lauren's still going to go to his house in Aspen. It doesn't matter. Right. But I was like, I got a little bit back.
Yeah, that's good.
So I don't know what happened with So Faustino, I saw him later. He said to me, he goes, those women in there said, you think I'm funny. And I said, I think you're the best.
You're the greatest comedian that ever lived.
Meanwhile, you know who did the part?
Who?
Will Ferrell.
No kidding. That's funny.
So they probably auditioned a bunch of people. Everyone sucked, and they got
Will Ferrell. Yeah, you did the right thing. Yeah, I remember when they wanted me to do Saturday Night Live, to host it. And I walked into Lorne Michaels' office. You see, I got the whole different treatment. Right. Lorne Michaels, he made total eye contact. He wanted me on that show.
Yeah.
So I said,
of course.
And I didn't even want to do it because I thought the show, I forget what years it was, but it was real lame.
You did it. It was the years where that's why Norm always loved you, man. Yeah. It was the years you said Norm was the only funny thing on the show.
That's how I truly felt.
You did the news, right?
Yeah, I really felt that way. So I sat down in Lorne's power office, and I don't even remember the office as well as you do, but I remember
it in L.A.?
No, this is in New York.
Oh, it's a different
office. It was a nice office. Cool. Nothing great. And he sits down. We want you to do this. I said, look, with all due respect, I'll do it, but I have to write every sketch. So he goes, what do you mean? I go, me, Fred, Jackie, those are my two guys.
Right.
We'll write every sketch. I said, I'm not interested in any of the Saturday Night Live writers.
Right.
And I'll tell you guys what we're going to do. He goes, you got to be kidding me. He goes, this is a television show. You can't write the sketches. I said, well, then I'm not doing it. I said, you want my opinion? Show's horrible. And not only is it horrible, I said, I can't be associated with the stink. I said, my fans will go berserk if I'm in anything lame or really, really horrible. And I'll tell you what. I said to him, I said to him, the only thing I want to do is I want to come on the opening segment.
Yeah.
Bring out your whole new crew, and I'll tell each one of them right on the air live what's wrong with each one of them.
I would have been the new crew, I think.
Yeah. So he said, well, what do you mean? I said, let's say we're going to do a sketch. It's called Howard Stern School of Comedy. And Howard's going to tell you what he thinks of it. And you can tell him any lame thing you want. I said, but when we get out there live that night, I'm going to let them have it. I'm going to rip them a new asshole, and let's see where they go with it. They're comedians. They're improv guys. They could either blast me. They could yell at me. Right. I said they could freeze. I said, let's be dangerous and see what happens. He goes, there's no way I am going to sabotage my cast and crew so that you can go out there and criticize me, because I'm fascinated by that idea.
Right.
He goes, I think it would be an amazing experiment. But he goes, I can't, they'll never trust me again. I said, well, then that's your problem. I said, all right. I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go on the news with Norm, and then I'll talk about how shitty the show is.
Well, listen.
Me
and Frank's about...
And then I got out of there. You know why I got out of there? He wanted to lynch me after I was done.
Well, of course. Well,
I was being a dick.
I was talking to a couple of writers from the show. The two coolest moments in the history of that show might have been you telling them the show sucks.
Right.
And after Norm got fired, did you see when he came back to host? He was doing the Norm show? Okay, so he wanted the two things. One thing would have been the coolest thing ever, but it just would have been he'll never get back in the show business. But the monologue was hilarious. They let Norm have Sam Simon come and help write the monologue. Right. And Robert Smigel, who wasn't on SNL at the time. So here was Norm's monologue. He goes, you know, hey, I'm back hosting the show, and I know, you know, a couple of years ago I got fired because I wasn't funny enough to be on the show.
Right.
But now I'm hosting the show. That's weird. Like, why would they have a guy who wasn't funny enough to be a cast member hosting the show? And, you know, a couple of years have gone by, and I'm trying to figure out why did they call me to host? And I watched the last few episodes, and here's what happened. I'm still horribly unfunny. The show has gotten awful. He goes, the show is even less funny than I am.
Right.
So they need a funny guy now to host. So that's what he goes, I'm still horribly unfunny, believe me.
But everybody else is worse.
But the show now is horribly worse.
Great.
And then he goes, well, because they do these sketches. And they goes, well, you'll see. And then the other thing he wanted to do was, because the host is in every sketch nowadays.
Right.
And that was something that, in the old days, the host didn't have to be in every sketch.
Right.
It was like, you know, whatever. But so he was in every sketch after the monologue. They had a commercial parody they play, and then he had Norm wanted to do this, and it would have been an Andy Kaufman-esque thing, but he would have been kicked. He'd been working on a farm now. Right. But it would have been so cool. He wanted to do his monologue and then just walk out, go to his dressing room, and just bolt to the elevator, go down, get in a cab, and not do and not do the show.
Yeah, that would have been bad. He would have been.
So everybody would have been left out.
That would have been bad. Even I wouldn't do that.
You know, well,
there's some edge.
And Norm,
that's very edgy.
And Norm didn't. He didn't do it to his credit, but that monologue was along the lines of what you did. Just like, it's funny. I mean, to go on there and shit on the show.
Yeah, well, you know, and that was my own arrogance, too. I mean, who the fuck was I to go on there and do that? But that's where I was angry, and I don't know. I had a big stick up my ass about everything, and so that's the way that went. Where is your Rolling Stone report?
Accidentally trip and fuck her.
The other guy they signed up was Steve-O, but I'm sure, you know, that's going to be goofy. And
Steve-O, that's
Steve-O
the
from
Adam
Jackass.
Carolla booking, yeah.
But Steve, you know, that's funny. And if I was a network, I'd be real concerned because Steve's nuts. I mean, Steve could do anything on live television.
Yeah, but isn't he on a short leash right now? They've got him all...
We get him all sedated.
Well, yeah, and somebody watching him every moment so he can't get out of control.
Once you get that camera rolling, those boys, you know, they
he loves to perform.
He loves it. He loves to staple his penis to his leg.
He loves to perform.
But he was always fucked up before, you know. It could be a new guy. He was on live TV going crazy on drugs and boozed up, so maybe he'll be different.
Have you had Subutex already this morning?
No.
You had a donut or something? Your lips are white again.
That means, no, he had Subutex.
No, I swear to God.
Come on, you got Subutex.
I swear to God I did.
Let me see. Let me look at you. No. His lips aren't that white.
Oh, okay. Maybe I just saw something in a shadow or something.
You know what it is? It's the lighting on Artie. No, he didn't have Subutex.
The lighting makes you look fantastic.
Yeah.